My name is Cindy. I am a 35-year-old part-time housewife working at a major corporation in LA. However, I hold a general office job and have strayed from a specialized career path. My husband, Kevin, and I have known each other since college, dating before getting married. He works at a relatively well-known local company and was promoted to section chief earlier than his peers due to his capabilities. We've been married for 7 years, and reflecting on our time together often brings deep emotions. Our 5-year-old daughter, Emma, is growing up healthily, and from the outside, our marriage appears very successful and happy. However, that is just a superficial image. In reality, my married life is marked by ongoing conflicts with a specific person, my sister-in-law, Megan. She is 6 years younger than my husband and very close to him. When we visited his parents' house for our marriage introduction, she told me up front, "I will never accept your marriage to my brother," with a hostile expression that I still vividly remember. His parents scolded her, but she repeatedly insisted, "I will never forgive this." After she left the room, my husband chuckled, "She really loves me." His parents urged him to scold Megan as well. According to a friend of my husband, Megan has shown an abnormal attachment to him for a long time, and if he interacts with other women, she harasses them to end their relationship. His acquaintances agree that dealing with his sister requires a strong-willed woman, and finding love or getting married could be challenging for her. She wore a white dress at our wedding and even tried to join us on our honeymoon, causing me trouble. I thought she felt robbed of her beloved brother. Thankfully, my parents-in-law handled it firmly, preventing typical mother-in-law issues and possibly a divorce. Yet, contrary to expectations, she did not settle down. Our apartment is a 15-minute walk from her parents' house, and she frequently visits, staying from early morning until late at night, sticking close to my husband. She constantly complains about the housework I do, criticizes the meals I prepare as not to her liking, and insists on her preferred dishes. She also orders delivery, spreading more food than can be consumed across the table, with my husband always paying the bill. When I suggest that ordering so much is unnecessary, she retorts, "Brother said it's okay," ignoring my advice. It's nice to have her visit, but she often approaches me while I'm cleaning or doing laundry just to criticize. While cleaning, she provokes me by saying, "Do you think this is clean?" And while pointing out old stains, she criticizes, "It seems like you're not good at cleaning, Cindy." This is typical behavior of a meddling sister-in-law. Usually the problem is with the mother-in-law, but in my case, it's different. My sister-in-law is the trouble. When I do the laundry, she mocks my choice of clothes, saying, "Are you really wearing these tasteless clothes?" And when I prepare meals in advance, she comments, "You're letting Kevin eat this? You always cut corners." Indeed, my job is a regular one, and it keeps me quite busy. I try to prepare meals ahead on weekends to lighten the weekday chores. However, it seems she was dissatisfied with that aspect. Since we don't eat out every day, a little appreciation would be nice. I've repeatedly expressed to my husband that Megan's regular visits are troubling, but he just responds, "What's the problem with my sister coming to my house? Just tolerate it." When she was a student, I suggested she work part-time at a convenience store run by an acquaintance to keep her from coming home as often, but she refused, saying, "Brother gives me enough allowance, so I don't need to work." My husband also criticized me, saying, "Starting a part-time job might cause trouble. Stop wasting time." Looking back, their overly close sibling relationship was evident from the time of our marriage introduction, and I should have reconsidered our relationship then. Unfortunately, the situation persisted for years. However, we eventually had a child, and I hoped her frequent visits would stop with a pregnant woman in the house, but that was overly optimistic. Even during my pregnancy, she continued her frequent visits, making various demands even when I was too unwell to do housework. When I asked her, "I'm pregnant and not feeling well. Could you please refrain a bit?" Megan responded by running to Kevin while crying, "That's terrible. Cindy is bullying me." He then scolded me, "Why won't you listen to Megan?" But all I could respond was, "I'm genuinely struggling with my pregnancy. Please let me rest. Why do you always prioritize her wishes?" She thought crying would solve the problem, running to my husband in tears whenever I refused her requests. Observing their interactions made me often question my own pregnancy experience and whether I should have considered separation. However, thinking of the child I was about to bring into the world, I remained, fearing a life without a father would be hard on it. After giving birth to our daughter, my husband's attention swiftly shifted to her. "She's so cute, I've finally become a dad." Witnessing this change, I hoped Megan would adjust her attitude somewhat. Around that time, she reduced her visits to our home with a baby, as my parents-in-law had strongly advised her to refrain, considering the new baby and our busy life. She also became busier with her new job as a working adult. I thought maintaining distance from her would be beneficial. However, 2 years into her new job, she quit due to marriage. Her boyfriend wanted her to be a stay-at-home wife. I genuinely congratulated her on her marriage. After becoming a working adult, she used to visit our house once a month, but I hoped that her marriage and new family responsibilities would reduce her visits to just a few times a year. However, her behavior did not change. Her husband, Ben, was not pleased with her frequent visits to our house and often came to take her back, apologizing, "I'm sorry, but I need to take my wife home." Witnessing this, my husband Kevin expressed his displeasure, wondering, what is he thinking? What's the problem with her visiting her brother's house? Megan complained, "My husband criticizes me severely for visiting your house so often, brother. He accuses me of not caring about our family." Then Kevin declared, "I'll talk to him myself." This led to frequent heated arguments between Kevin and Ben. As a new mother, I was just astounded by my husband's behavior, and even his parents often scolded them, saying, "Megan, why do you act this way? You should also look after your own family and..." "Kevin, stop indulging Megan. You should be protecting Cindy and Emma." However, they did not heed these words. Kevin argued, "Our parents don't understand sibling love," and Megan retorted, "What's the problem with a sister visiting her brother's house?" I was at my limit with Kevin's confrontational attitude even towards my brother-in-law. Many would wonder how such decent parents could have children with so many issues. Particularly, it seemed Megan had no interest in her own daughter, almost as if she was unaware of her existence. I had considered divorce many times. While Kevin worked hard and contributed financially, and was not completely neglectful in parenting, sometimes acting as a commendable father, his indulgence towards Megan was problematic. He was the only father to our daughter, and I felt she needed him, which kept me from deciding on divorce. In fact, I earned more than him, and I could manage financially on my own. But there are values money can't buy. Yet an unavoidable incident occurred. When our daughter started kindergarten, Megan's unchanging attitude finally led her husband to decide on divorce. Megan did not want the divorce and took it to mediation, but ultimately she had to return to her parents' home. The conflict lasted long, but no compensation or property division took place. We've told her repeatedly to change her lifestyle, but she never does. My mother-in-law lamented over the phone. We told her if she's going to stay at home and not work, At least she should contribute financially. But she refuses to find a job. Her parents demanded that if she lived with them, she must find a job and contribute financially. However, she made no effort to find work, thinking she could get by without it as her father was still working. Then she began staying at home more often again. But after 6 months post-divorce, her parents firmly told her if she didn't contribute financially, she would have to leave. They had already packed most of her belongings. Megan immediately sought help from Kevin, saying, "Brother, what should I do? Mom and Dad are trying to kick me out." Mom and Dad, knowing that you are struggling after the divorce and refusing financial help is cold, isn't it? There's no compensation or property division, and I'm out of money. Kevin, can't you help me? Hearing their conversation, I became wary, especially wanting to avoid any family financial issues. Yet Kevin firmly declared, "Don't worry, I'll sort something out." When Megan returned home, I confronted Kevin. "What exactly do you plan to do for Megan?" He replied, "I'm thinking of paying the amount our parents are asking for." I was speechless, immediately responding, "We don't have that kind of money to spare. We need it for Emma's education," but he insisted, "I understand about Emma, but I can't abandon my sister when she's in trouble." I pressed him, "Please don't do anything strange," but I couldn't control his actions. Days later, I found Kevin holding my bank passbook, which was for an account we had started together for Emma's education fund, though I had been the sole contributor for the last few years. "What do you want with that passbook?" I asked, to which he smiled and said, "Sorry I didn't tell you earlier. Megan was in trouble, so I gave her all the savings. It's amazing how much you've saved working at a big company. How could you do this?" "That's Emma's future savings," I yelled. I had planned for Emma to attend a prestigious elementary school. Her teacher had recognized her abilities and recommended a specific school, which Emma liked and had actively participated in open school events. "This money is needed for Emma's entrance exam. I can't give it to Megan." Kevin yelled back, furious, "I've always felt you're too harsh on Megan. What kind of person doesn't care about their own sister?" "It's not that I'm too harsh, you're too protective. Even your parents said not to indulge her." "I'm disappointed that you'd say the same as my parents," Kevin snapped coldly. Seeing his attitude, I realized he had lost sight of what was truly important. Feeling at my limit, I made a decision. "Fine, I'll take Emma and leave." After my cold declaration, Kevin, trembling with anger, shouted, "Fine, you and her can leave this house today. We're getting a divorce." I quickly gathered mine and Emma's belongings, ready to leave. Fortunately, my parents' house was just one train stop away, so I decided to take refuge there. Carrying the bags, I left the house without Kevin looking back. I picked up Emma from kindergarten and headed straight to my parents' house. Though I had considered divorce before, the clarity on our financial issues finally led me to make a decision. When I told my parents everything, they were furious and strongly advised me to divorce a man who had dipped into the education fund, and they introduced me to a competent lawyer. The incident quickly became known to my parents-in-law, and the next day they visited my parents' house to apologize. They said, "We are terribly sorry for the unbelievable actions of our children." It was painful to see the aged appearance of my parents-in-law, but I comforted them. "It's okay. You have reprimanded them many times, although they could not bring themselves to look up." Eventually, we went through the legal process and officially got divorced. The compensation and child support were paid in a lump sum based on market rates, and the funds saved for my daughter's education were replenished. Right after the divorce, my daughter often asked, "Where is Daddy?" But gradually she began to say less often, "It's the same whether Daddy is here or not," and seemed less saddened by his absence. Instead, she brightened up and said, "It's fun spending time with Grandma and Grandpa." After the divorce, with significant support from my parents, I focused on my work and dedicated myself to raising my daughter. One day, unexpectedly, my ex-husband contacted me. "I need help. Please do something about Megan." Surprised by his sudden request, I responded, "What are you talking about all of a sudden?" "I've been disowned by our parents along with Megan. They can't forgive us for using Emma's education funds. She still hasn't found a job and keeps making demands on me, which is really tough." "And what about that? We are already divorced. Please, can you reconsider?" "I'm at my limit." "What exactly happened?" I asked, seeking more details. "Megan doesn't work and just hangs out all day. She often comes to my workplace despite knowing I'm busy and interferes. Despite my warnings not to come to the workplace so frequently, she didn't listen, and as a result, I was demoted. That's not surprising. She never listens to anyone. Moreover, whenever I slightly oppose her, she starts crying and screaming, and it's unbearable." My ex-husband said this tearfully. "You created this situation yourself. I asked you many times to stop indulging her whims, but you ignored it and kept spoiling her." I pointed this out calmly. He quietly admitted, "I regret that." But then he spoke to me sincerely. "I've realized something. The truly happy times were when I was with you and Emma. I feel warm inside when I think about those times." He continued sentimentally, "That's why I want to try again. I hope we can give it another chance." However, I firmly refused his offer. "It's not realistic for us to start over. That's too convenient." I calmly rejected his proposal. He pleaded desperately, "Please don't say that. Emma is also my daughter. I want you to understand the value of having a father nearby. Consider how important it is for her to have her father around." But I firmly rejected his words. "Actually, she's never missed having a father. Emma is perfectly happy without you. Still, isn't it possible for us to start over as a family?" he asked again. "That's impossible. If you keep pressing this, I'll take appropriate action," I responded firmly. He sadly begged, "Won't you reconsider just once more?" Yet I firmly denied his request. "Don't contact me again." There's nothing left between us, and I hung up the phone unilaterally. Later, information from my former parents-in-law revealed that my ex-husband was still living with Megan. He continued to be tormented by her capricious and selfish behavior, experiencing significant mental and physical exhaustion. He struggled financially and frequently asked his parents for financial assistance. Due to financial difficulties following the divorce, Megan fell behind on taxes and pension payments, which led her to reluctantly start working part-time at a local supermarket. This unwanted job increased her stress, causing her to often lash out at my ex-husband. Her frequent irritations added to the mental and physical pressure on him, and her own living conditions continued to deteriorate. Despite his desire to reconcile with me, the only contact possible was through lawyers, making any relationship repair virtually impossible. Ultimately, he had no choice but to accept this situation. According to information I received, every time my ex-husband visited his parents' home, they consistently refused to extend help, asserting that they had no obligation to assist given their previous warnings. The term "you reap what you sow" comes to mind. My sister-in-law faced the natural consequences of her selfish lifestyle, and the indulgence by my ex-husband has now manifested in their current plight. Meanwhile, I continue to thrive in raising my daughter and pursuing my career. My daughter has become increasingly helpful around the house as she grows, brightening our home atmosphere. She passed the entrance exams for elementary school and will start her new journey next year, proudly wearing her school backpack. Witnessing her steps, I feel deep joy and a significant sense of responsibility, renewing my commitment to support her growth as a mother.